Two of the three shapes done, we know that to find the area of a rectangle, we multiply the base times the height. To find the area of a square, we take the side and we square it because all sides of a square are the same. Both of these shapes are parallelograms. We learned that last chapter, but they're unique. They have right angles. So how do we find the area of a parallelogram that doesn't have right angles? You can see that this parallelogram doesn't have right angles. And when we don't have right angles, you can see what happens. We have most of this square in the area, but not all of it. We have just a little bit of this square. So it gets very hard to just count the squares. Plus, that's not real life. We know that in real life, you don't have squares everywhere that you have to find an area. So I want you to look at this parallelogram. And I want you to watch what happens. Here's a parallelogram, here's a rectangle. Here's a parallelogram, here's a rectangle. Do you notice anything that is unique or a relationship between the parallelogram and the rectangle? Hopefully you're noticing that the rectangle, if it is slightly slanted, becomes a parallelogram like the one that we started with. Rectangle, parallelogram. Because the rectangle and the parallelogram are the same, just slightly different angles, the formula is the same also. To find the area of a parallelogram, we multiply the base times the height. It doesn't change. There is one slightly tricky part. If the base is the part of the parallelogram that it sits on, most of us would say this is the height, but it's not. Think back to the rectangle. What type of angle does the base and the height make? It makes a right angle. Since this is not a right angle, this is not the height. The height for a parallelogram like this will be drawn in. It will be a dotted line most times, and they'll show you that it's a right angle. That is the height. That's the measurement that we use to multiply by the base. The base times the height, which is perpendicular and forms a right angle. Sometimes, in some diagrams, they'll draw the height outside over here. So they'll extend the base and then they'll draw in the height. You see this is a square, looks like a little square. If you were to snip I'm sorry, it looks like a triangle. If you were to snip a triangle off over here and bring it here, then you would have a rectangle again. So the big thing to remember about parallelograms that don't have right angles is that the height must make a right angle with the base. And you'll see in the book when we look in just a second that they will draw those heights in. Don't be tricked. Don't take the slanted side. You have to take the side that is perpendicular, forms a right angle with the base. So the formula for a parallelogram is the height times the base, or the base times the height. But again, that height has to form a right angle. Make sure you got that in your notes.